This is Module 2, Lesson 18, titled Least Common Multiple and Greatest Common Factor. The goals of this lesson are: I can find the GCF and least LCM of a set of numbers, and I can rewrite the sum using GCF and the distributed property. As always, make sure you guys take good notes throughout these videos. Pause the video at any time and watch the video or parts of videos as many times as necessary. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't really like the way that this lesson is set up. So in our little videos, I'm going to sort of change the order of things that I think make a little bit more sense or a little bit less confusing to us. I'm going to start by going to example 1, and we're going to start there by finding the greatest common factor, or we abbreviate it with GCF. We're going to find the greatest common factor of 12 and 18. Now, actually, I'm going to show you two different methods to do this. And one of these methods is simply called listing. You're going to list all the factor pairs in order, and that way you're going to then find all the common factors, and then you're going to find the greatest of those common factors. Now, the lesson here has you put them in tables. I'm going to put them in a list as well to show you the way that I like it the best. It's your choice, however you like it the best. If I'm going to list all the factors of 12, I want to go 1 and 12. Those two are the smallest and biggest factors of 12. Now, to find other factors, I can think of math facts, or I can think of our divisibility rules. I can see that 12 ends in a 2, so I know 2 is also a factor of 12. And 2 times 6 gives me 12. So there's another factor of 12. Finally, I know that 12 can be divided by 3 because if I add up the 1 plus 2, I get 3. And that can be divided by 3. And then I think 3 times 4 gives me 12. I listed all the factors of 12 there. 18, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to list all the factors of 18. 1 and 18 are the biggest and the smallest of those. It's an even number, so I know 2 is also a factor. 2 times 9 gives me 18. And I know it can be divided by 3 because if I add up 1 plus 8, I get 9, and that is divisible by 3. 3 times 6 gives me 18. Now, if I look at the common factors, I'm going to circle all the common factors. 1 is a common factor. 2 is common. 3 is common. And 6 is common. The greatest common factor, so the greatest of those, is of course the 6. So we would say the greatest common factor of 12 and 18 is 6. Now, the way I like to do the listing is I simply like to make a horizontal list of the numbers. 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. I work my way outside in. 1, 18, 2, 9, 3, 6. Then I can look at all the ones that are common. I got a 1, 2, 3, and a 6, and of course the biggest is 6. This is another way of listing the factors. Listing method works great when you have numbers that are small. But another method that we can use, especially when the numbers are a little bit larger, is something called factor tree and using a tool called a Venn diagram. Here's what I'm saying. I'm going to take the two numbers, 12 and 18, and I'm going to factor those all down to my prime factors. A prime number is a number that can only be gotten by multiplying 1 times itself. I only want prime factors. I can pick any two factors of 12. Like, for example, I can pick 2 and 6. 2 is a prime factor. The only way I can get 2 is to multiply 1 times 2. I'm going to circle it. 6 is not prime, because I can get 6 by going 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. So I'm going to break the 6 down into 2 times 3. Then I'm going to say 2 is prime, and so is 3, because the only way you can get 3 is 3 times 1. Notice all my branches on my tree end in a circle. They end in prime factors. That's what I want. Do the same thing for 18. Pick any two prime factors. I'm going to pick 2 and 9. 2 is prime. 9 is not. It can be broken down into 3 times 3, which are both prime. So those are my factor trees. I'm going to break them down until I get prime factors. After that, I'm going to create a tool called a Venn diagram. I'm sure you've used these before. This circle over here represents a 12, and this circle represents the 18. I'm going to place only prime factors in places of those circles. I can see that this first prime factor of 2 is shared, so I'm going to put it right in the middle. This next prime factor of 12 has is 2. It's not shared by the 18, only the 12. So I'm going to put it over there. The 3, it is shared. Put that in the middle. And this last 3 over here of the 18 is not shared. It's only going to go in the 18. To find the greatest common factor, you take these, all the shared prime factors, and multiply them together. 2 times 3 equals 6. So in each one of these, both of these methods, the listing method and the prime factorization, they call this, you get a greatest common factor of 6.